What's going on, ladies, gentlemen, and NBs, and welcome to IndieQuest, the celebration of the indie and obscure. I am one of your hosts today, Josh, and I'm joined by one of my awesome co-hosts, Steve. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. You know, all things considered. We had a pretty chill weekend. The kid was off with his aunt and then his grandpa for a good chunk of the weekend, so me and the wife got a lot accomplished around the house, and now winding down with some sleepy time tea and ready to chat about some indie games. So what's there to complain about?
Nice and cozy. I'm also joined by the captain himself, Captain Drachma. How's it going?
It's going really well. My dad actually got a puppy, and who doesn't love puppies?
I do.
About a week ago, and I have been over there a couple times. I had helped him find this dog, so I'm a little invested for sure, and I'm a big dog fan. Always have been my whole life, practically since I was like 8, right? So went over there, saw the puppy a couple times in the last week or so. Went over there earlier today with my son and hung out with him for a little bit. Really good, cute little German Shepherd. So we are having a good day. It always sets up a day quite nicely when you can go pet a fuzzball.
So true.
How are you doing, Josh?
I'm doing good. I just told you guys before the show I was kind of just deep cleaning today. I think we both kind of got the bug. We're like, we just got to just scrub everything in the apartment. So doing the spring cleaning, basically, and it feels nice in here. It feels nice and cozy, and you walk in and everything's like spick and span for the first time in a couple of weeks here, so you know that's always good. So besides that, just chilling and recovering from a really long work week, just to be honest, but I'm good besides that. So
that's always good to hear. Good job on the deep cleaning. I'm not a good deep cleaner. Between me and my wife, I feel like I'm light cleaning, widespread and often. She's deep cleaning rarely and well. Like she'll kind of be the messier one, low key. It's okay. She would admit it too. But then when like push comes to shove, she'll spend 2 hours like going hard and getting a room absolutely spick and span. Whereas I'm more the like pick up the kids' toys, do a base level of vacuuming type of steady state cleaner.
That is actually the exact same in our household, where, you know, I think it says something maybe about people who prefer some sort of routine. Maybe that's at least how it is for me. So I'm kind of like check going along my way. Like, this is the things I need to get done, and the laundry, dishes, clean this, clean that, a couple things, and then she very much is like, okay, this is a room that we're going to tackle, and it's gonna be extremely clean, like, right? So very similar.
nice.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, and then you know, I the thing about it, last week I was like already pretty exhausted from work, like I said, but I just got out of the battlefield of the Switch 2 Discord. Oh my discourse, you know, just all the, oh my god, it felt like it was just like shrapnel coming at me. I'm like, $80 games, $500 system, oh my god, and it just, the arguments is just like, I feel like I'm just beaten and just like bruised after this week of the discourse. Oh my god.
Personally, I feel like it's easier for me to just sit on the fence, because when was the last time I bought a Nintendo console? It was probably like GameCube, maybe. I remember us getting a Wii when we were kids, but it was still later on. And I will definitely wait for a sale for Switch 2 at some point. You know, get it off of Woot. I've been wooting a lot lately.
Whoop, whoop.
So we'll just see. I'm not as concerned about stuff. There's nothing on there yet that's like, oh man, that's something I must play. I mean, Metroid Prime can be played on both, right? So if I really want to play that, I can play it on the other one. And so I'm kind of like, I'm free to throw insults, because I just don't really care. And if I can go either way, right? So it's like, I don't, you know. Sometimes I like to stir the pot. You know, it's fun to stir the pot. It's just get people to get them riled up, but.
Just switch sides based on whatever's more convenient for you in that moment.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're agreeing with me. Suddenly you're agreeing with other people. But yeah, I mean, depending on where you looked, there's a lot of excitement out there on the internet to be certain, but there's also, I think, a lot of people sometimes rightfully, and I think sometimes a little unnecessarily, we'll just say worked up about some of the news that came out. But there is, as always with Nintendo, this is what all of their announcements are like. You get some exciting, cool things packaged with some really weird, stubborn decisions and corporate greed. And you just got to circle those squares in your own head however you want to. But all that to say, I'll be there. Well, I was going to say I'll be there day one. I planned on buying a Switch day one. At this point, who knows if we're going to be able to buy a Switch here. No Canadians in this chat, all US based. So it's all up in the air about whether or not they're even going to try to sell them to us.
Right. I mean, I was like, oh my God, awesome. A new Donkey Kong game, which that's a 3D platformer, you know, that stuff I'm excited for. And then, but it's just like, who knows what's going to happen. But, you know, the thing about that whole direct that was cool is they kind of just drop like 2 like giant indie bombshells. And they're like, oh yeah, here's Deltarune Chapter 3 and 4. And here's Silksong, you know, just kind of like sneaking it in there between like the Nintendo stuff, which I thought that was pretty funny.
I agree with you, but it is very funny to me that a bombshell announcement for Silksong is it showing up for 2 seconds in a sizzle reel, just confirming that it's apparently still coming out. Like,
yeah,
it didn't even have a specific date. It just said 2025, and I look at the 2025. I don't even believe it. I'm like, okay, calm down with your overestimations there, fellas. But at least it showed up, and we know it's not yet vaporware.
Yeah, my take was it was that it was like, oh, you know, coming out 2025. To me, it almost read more like thinking about it in 2025. Like, we're considering it for sure.
It would be great if this came out in 2025. Who's to say?
Just so you guys know, it's still a thing. Like you said, Steve. Like they're just reassuring us, like, hey, it's still out there. So, it did make me think, though, fellas, that, you know, it seems like it could potentially be drawing near. So maybe we got to get around to that Hollow Knight episode at some point.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. I was like, we probably should like pencil in like a time frame for that one or something. Like, you know, doesn't have to be next week or, you know, next episode or even next month, but in the next few, maybe sometime in the summer or something.
Yeah, for sure.
I know most of the folks that work at Team Cherry certainly listen to this show, so I'm just going to ask all you guys and gals, if you could just not shadow drop it and give us like a solid 2 months lead up to Silksong's release, just so that we can, you know, do our SEO optimization. The IndieQuest boys would appreciate that.
Would appreciate it. But
so I wasn't 100% sure because I haven't been following it super closely. Deltarune is an announcement, right? That to me, that felt like news that 3 and 4 is coming out, and apparently its release date is the launch of the Switch 2.
Yeah. So that, like, Toby Fox, right? Yeah, Toby Fox is like, you know, saying, oh, they're like, oh my God, the game's coming out this year. I promise you guys. Pinky promise, you know, and this is him finally saying, yeah, 3 and 4 is coming out for sure when the Switch 2 comes out. So trying to get that big, I mean, I'm sure that's a lot of people are most looking forward to that, to play, you know, on launch day over like even like Mario Kart or anything like that. Because that game's been in like brewing for, I don't know, 6 years or something longer than that. I don't even know at this point. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Totally. Very exciting. So indie stuff coming out too. I mean, there will be a bajillion indies on Switch too.
Yeah.
It seems like every indication is it's going to have all the same third-party support that the Switch did. So I imagine that in 2028, we'll be seeing a bunch of releases that are PC and Switch 2, the same way we see PC and Switch today.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's like, just, I think when I was talking to Steve about the computer like a few weeks ago, you're like, yeah, you're just going to end up playing like just indie games on there anyway. Like, I got this nice beefy computer and I'm like over here playing like I don't know if anybody's bringing this game, but there is a game that's like very lowly graphically intense. I was playing that on the PC. It's just like I could have played this like on my old laptop, you know, long time ago when I was a kid, you know, type of game. So it's like, for us, it's like, it's cool that Nintendo's doing all this stuff and it's cool the text there. It's going to be fun to play the Nintendo games, but we're still going to be sitting there playing, you know, Deltarune on the thing anyway. So
yep, exactly.
All right, so I decided to change up the order today a little bit. Usually we kind of do like the community topics at the like tail into the show, but let's do some campfire chat. We got some comments and things that we've kind of been banking up for a couple, I think about 3 weeks here. So who wants to read the first one today?
I'll read the first one, Josh. God, I've been waiting for weeks to read this. Thank goodness we're here. All right, so this is actually a review that we received on Apple Podcasts, if I remember correctly. I can't remember exactly. It's either that or Spotify or something, but a podcast app. This is from Mr. W. The title is just 4. And it makes sense that it's just 4 because we got 4 out of 5 stars for this one. So appreciate the rating. Wish we could have gotten your 5 out of 5 stars. Let's see if Mr. W has anything to say about why we only got those 4 stars and lost that last one. I assume he says, listening from the beginning, SideQuest Steve has like a 10 episode streak of side quests. And that's it. That's all. So, everyone out there, please don't go back to those 10 episodes. I can't even tell you when that was. Although I do remember that Josh and I commented on it at one point. It's like, oh, really, Steve? Another side quest. Woo. And we kind of were calling them CV side quests back then. But avoid those episodes if you appreciate main quests coming from the majority of us, right? And listen to some post or pre and just avoid that altogether so we can hopefully get your 5 stars. Thanks a lot, Steve, for losing us a star in this review.
All right. Let me defend my case here, okay? First of all, let's check the tape, all right? It says, starting from the beginning, Steve has a 10 run of side quests. Fortunately or unfortunately for all of you out there, we have IndieQuestPod.com, where you can go and find the entire quest log, including who placed it and on what episode. So as we scroll down the main quest here, let's see where I placed main quests. Episode 1, Episode 2, Episode 3, Episode 7, Episode 8, Episode 12, Episode 13, Episode 15, Episode 17. I'm waiting to find this 10 episode streak here where where Steve's a hater.
I think this gentleman is saying like he started from the beginning, loved it up until this just absolute barricade that he ran into of whenever I don't remember what I do remember there being a streak of side quests coming from you.
Okay.
I don't know when it was.
It is fair that I main quested what is this video game? Freedom Planet. Would I main quest that today? I'm a different version of myself. Who's to say? I did at the time. Episode 20. I don't have another main quest until Citizen Sleeper on episode 35.
Holy crap. He was being generous. Said only 10 and you had 15 in a row.
Now, partially in my defense.
Damn.
On episode 31, which is in the middle of that gap, is when we put To the Moon on the main quest.
Well,
I at least had a say in main questing. And I think, I know people will say I'm a biased observer here, but I think you both would, of your own accord, admit that I would have placed that on the main quest were I to play that individually.
I mean, there was a streak going on, and Josh and I met behind the scenes. We're like, we know he loves To the Moon. Like, let's just play To the Moon so Steve can finally bring a main quest so that the people out there can give us more 5 stars. God. So we got it back on track. Thank you, Mr. W, for writing in.
All I'll say then, in addition to that, is, folks, the main quest doesn't exist without the side quest. Light and darkness, buddy. They have to exist in equal measure. If we have a side quest and we never use it, then we don't have a main quest either. So it's necessary to place games on both sides. And, it's interesting to me that especially, let's say, the pre-Seth era, one of us here is on trial for their reputation of side questing, and yet one of these other co-hosts has a similar biased reputation. It just leans towards the main quest. So, some of us have to be the counterweight.
And it's funny, you say it's the dark side. It's like, that's like the main quest is paper white, and then like like the side quest is like cream colored. You know,
Yeah,
it's like
eggshell.
off-white, it's like eggshell color. You know, it's like not even darkness. It's like it's still a great game. Come on, guys. You know.
Yep.
We appreciate the comment and the reviews. Either way, we just thought it was kind of like a pretty funny one. You know,
Yeah,
just to be
that
honest.
was good. I liked it.
And W, thank you for going back and listening from the beginning. I hope you're enjoying your run through. Even if I personally think some of those early episodes we were rushing a little bit on some of those games. We should have let them breathe a little more, but we needed Seth here, somewhere in the 20s or 30s to kick us into high gear.
Yeah, to like rein us in. You know, he has his boots and he's lasso and he's like getting us into the pin. You know,
That's right. That's right.
All right. Well, I'll read the second one here. This is a fan mail. You guys can to send us a fan mail. There's actually a link in each description that says send us a text. If you click that, you can send a text. You can be on the road, pull over the side of the road if you're listening, and you just really need to say something to us. Send us a text at any time, and we'll see them and we'll read them on here on the Campfire Chat. All right, this one's from our buddy Potomax. He says, "What's up, guys? It's Potomax. I've played an indie 3D platformer called Prue the Pigeon. I think Steve has it on his wish list, and it was honestly surprisingly good. It's linear Mario 3D World style. The controls are tight. There's a lot of variety, and it even has a brutal champion road final level. Absolutely recommended. Fun fact: also, the day I bought the game, I had bought a single other game with it, Dark Souls." The duality of a Potomax right there. So anyone, what's your favorite indie game where you play as a bird? I have a good one, Potomax. I don't know if I was thinking about this. I was trying to think of a game that you play as a bird.
I mean, I think this is an easy answer for me. It's got to be a Short Hike.
Yeah.
Short Hike's one of my favorite indies, full stop. So
Yeah.
the fact that you play as a bird is just kind of icing on the cake.
I was like trying to think of a few. I was like, Hatful Boyfriend, right? You know, Owlboy. I don't know. I'm just gonna look up a list here in front of me. Tori 3D. You know, but yeah, I think the one that Seth's gonna say is probably the one, right? That I would say, right?
Oh, so you thought of it. I was wondering, Josh, because it's not one that immediately comes to mind, although it's sitting on my desk. So Death's Door is the one for me. I kind of forget you play as a crow, and I think of a crow as a crow and not so much as a general bird. So yeah.
I think those are pretty much the two I would think of. And then I thought Untitled Goose Game was one that's not really a bird though. That's a goose, right? I mean, kind of. It has wings.
It's a big bird.
Wings. Yeah. So I mean that was one that came to mind. But when I was thinking about this question, those are the two that like sprung to my head. So I think we covered those
for sure.
Thanks for writing in, Potomax. Everybody should check out the Trash Station if you haven't yet. Great podcast.
Heck yeah. All right, we have one more fan mail that I'll read out here. This one says, I love how Captain says refresh music won't blow the door off while he plays the dopest jazz number in the background. We're going to need a second opinion on this game for music alone. If it's anything like the sample, I'm buying it just to idly play as background music to my sad work-from-home life. Cheers, go hobo go. So not agreeing fully with the captain's assessment of Refresh's music, but I will say, normally we wait to the end of the episode to let folks know, but this is the perfect segue. If you're looking for a second opinion episode, check your feed next go around because we have one coming up real soon. Mm-hmm. Now, I can't promise Refresh is going to show up on that one, but it's got like a 1 in 187 chance or something of showing up. So
maybe slightly less because we've already done a couple of those games on second opinions already. We probably aren't bringing the same game to another second opinion, right? So we're probably like 175 somewhere.
Yeah. Well, and it's actually two hosts, so it's more like you've got like a 2 in 354 chance. So do with that what you will.
Yep.
And the thing also that's a good thing to say is we are doing a second opinion. So if anybody's played a game off the quest log or discovered something from the quest log, might as well send us an email because that would be perfect and would tie into next episode. Why not? IndieQuestpod@gmail.com.
Heck yeah. Especially if you disagree with the original host's opinion. That's the beauty of the second opinion it's to let cooler heads prevail. Get some other voices in there to swat down some old outdated opinions, or to just respectfully disagree because games are a matter of taste, however you want to approach that, and we'd love to hear it.
And if you want some advice on how to word that, head on back to, I think it was episode 100 when Guido sent his list in, because it was hilarious. And if you can make me laugh, you're automatically going to be my friend. So yeah, do that.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. I was like, literally, we were like on the same wavelength there. I was like, yeah, remember when we had like every game that Guido ever played from the quest log? That was pretty fun.
It was so fun.
Love emails like that. We definitely would read that if you decided to do that. So thank you so much. But let's get on to the meat and potatoes of the show today. It's the Bargain Quest episode. We're going to be talking about games under $5. So retail under $5. We're not talking it's $20 and Steam sale $5. No, $5 and less. Retail, MSRP, whatever you want to say. I played one. We all played one. Who wants to go first today?
You can go first, Josh.
Oh, I think Josh can go first. Look at that.
Right back.
I'm excited.
Okay. I brought an indie game, and I did kind of like tell you guys this is a little bit, I mean, I could have brought a Nintendo game. I brought Tears of the Kingdom.
The Switch 2 edition?
Yes.
Yeah.
Early hands-on.
I was in New York. I did the preview. I didn't tell you guys. It's a surprise.
Here's my time to shine. It costs more than it costs for us to just play these games on this episode to upgrade that Switch 2 version of Tears of the Kingdom. It's like $10.
Probably.
Everything we bring here is less than $5. So take
So
that,
true.
Nintendo. I know you're listening.
Okay. Anyway, I brought a game called Pony Island.
Oh,
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Great choice.
This game is one I've been wanting to play. You guys played Inscription. I haven't played it yet. This is by Daniel Mullins, the guy that made Inscription. This is his first game he released. It's only on PC because the mechanics are very much designed for PC. But we'll get into it. I think, Steve, you have played it, right? I think I saw on your profile that you did play through this.
Yep, definitely.
And Seth, you haven't yet, but you want to probably?
yeah, I have wanted to. It's one of those games. It's like, man, I feel like I need to be in the right headspace to play Pony Island because it's just so weird, right? It's
It is
just
a very weird game.
different game. But I am so happy you're bringing it because I feel like it's almost like you're using Bargain Quest to also bring something that's like, why isn't that on the log episode? Like, it's a perfect crossover.
Almost. Yeah, pretty
it's
much.
very necessary for the quest log, so I'm glad it's here.
Yeah, so that's one of the main reasons. I was like, you know what? I had to I did the same thing. I know we talked behind the scenes, Seth and Steve. We were like, I know Seth was really like, hey, I'm just gonna buy a bunch of games. I kind of had a cart brewing with a bunch of like $5 and less games, and then I ended up buying a couple of them. But I ultimately picked this up on like a Steam sale or a Humble Bundle or whatever over the years. This game's from 2016, so who knows when I bought it. And it was just sitting there, and I'm like, you know what? Let's just do it. And so I did. So Pony Island, I'll read from the Steam description here, is a suspense puzzle game in disguise. You are in limbo, trapped in a malevolent and malfunctioning arcade machine devised by the devil himself. It is not a game about ponies. So that's just a nice way to like get this game kicked off. So this is going to be a weird one to describe. It's kind of similar to Inscription, where I'm going to try to have to like not talk too deeply about it, but there are like 3 sections to the game. Really, when you break it down, there is the whole arcade machine that you're at, where you're trying to like hack into the system to help this like voice or this character inside this like computer / arcade. So there's hacking mini games involved there, where you're like basically there's usually like a key that's cycling through some code, and then you have to like help that key by like directing it by with like sliding blocks, basically. So a very simple puzzle game there. And then of course there's the main Pony Island game that you're playing. Is kind of like an arcade runner, and then think like Bit Trip runner or something like that. You play with the mouse to jump, or like that dinosaur game that's in Google Chrome. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's very similar to that too. That's right when I started playing it. That's the first thing I thought. But you get like a laser, and there's dudes that come at you. You have to fire the laser at them and jump over gates to get to like a flagpole. And that's kind of like the main like arcade game in there. And then the third thing is the whole like trying to discover and uncover the story of what's going on in this weird, just kind of weird thing. It's just all weird together in this whole mixed up package. And it does the thing where it breaks the fourth wall a bunch of times and makes you not sure what's real and what's not, and and that's kind of what is cool about this one. It's like it's made for playing on a computer on Steam, and there's very specific things that are relevant to that, and I'll just leave it there. But it plays with your expectations quite a bit, and I'll say I was like kind of creeped out. It's not like really spooky. It's not like the spookiest game I ever played, but it was one of those where I'm like, it kind of plays with your head a little bit. So I really enjoyed my time with this one. So what do you got? What's your impression of this game? And Steve, what did you think about this game when you played it?
So I mean, I will say for folks that have played Inscription, or you're familiar with Daniel Mullins has like had kind of like, I don't want to say a shtick because that almost sounds like it cheapens it, but Daniel Mullins has been enjoying doing this kind of thing for a long time. Inscription was just the one that broke through, I think, and hit the mainstream. But if you like some of the ways that Inscription goes and some of the things that Inscription does, you're going to like Pony Island too. Pony Island, I would say, is a much simpler game, like a more simple execution of some of those same ideas. But I mean, it makes sense. This was an earlier game. I think one of Daniel Mullins' first. Mm-hmm. And so still kind of like working out that style, but it is really effective. In fact, I will say what Josh was alluding to that I won't go into details on. Some of the things that the game does to kind of like get in your head and break the fourth wall a little bit. One of them is, for my money, the most effective one of these that a game has ever done. It's one of the only ones that actually got me, like fully tricked me. And I was like, oh, damn, look at you. So I have a lot of respect for this one. It's just a very fun ride. Even if you know what you're kind of getting in for, it's a fun ride to go through.
Yeah. So the thing about this, it's not a very long game. I think it's about 3 hours. If you want to go through and like clean up, there's collectibles. They're like little tickets you can find, and they're like a lot of times it's like you're finding a specific pixel to click in the environment, or there is like little things like, oh, can I click on that? And you click on it and you get a ticket. You know, there's like little hidden things in the like. There's like I still feel like I won't say that. But there are things where there's like a whole area you can explore, and there are ways to get tickets in there. And I think there's 24 total. And if you do 24 tickets, there might be something that happens if you do that. So there's a little bit of extra things that you can do there. And the way I described it, I don't know if it was confusing to people if you're not seeing it on the screen. It did sound like it's a lot to digest, but the game does really lead you through all of these segments very well. Like, you're not going to get lost. You're going to follow the story. And if you feel like there's a segment where you're kind of like, what do I do? You just kind of have to like tinker with like menus and things in the game, and you'll eventually find like the next step to do the next part of the story. And I was like, this was a perfect late night game. It was like 12:30 at night, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna start this, right? And I played it all the way through in one sitting, and missed out on some sleep, but it was perfect. Just me with some headphones on, just like that moody atmosphere. I just really thought it just delivered on that just nice bite-sized game. I thought the writing in it was interesting and unique, and it just had a very specific voice. And when I was playing through it, I was like, I don't think I've ever played a game quite like this, which is something that I really appreciate. This makes me want to jump into Inscription if I'm being honest with you guys. So,
oh, you'll love it if you love this. Inscription is much more. It's like a much grander affair. One of the things that I will give Pony Island credit for is that it does a lot with a little. I mean, it does have like color in it, but the game is primarily a black and white game. It's modeled to look like it's on like an old tube monitor from something that you'd see like in like a basement server room at a college campus on like the late 70s or early 80s or something like that. Like, it is very early days like computer graphics, but that is it's just a good aesthetic for them to play around with and do some clever things and occasionally throw some curveballs at you. So it's well done.
Yeah, and it does play with the way it looks too, which I appreciate. And like the hacking mini games does feel like you're just like you feel like you're a hacker, you know, like it's like command prompt type vibe with a little bit of like you might be in hell at the same time, but this is a command prompt from hell, you know. It's pretty much what it feels like when you're doing those little like mini games there. And then when you're doing the runner game's fine. It's serviceable. Like the game plays with the mouse, like I said, and the laser is actually like the cursor of the mouse, you know, so you're like aiming. If you move the mouse up, it goes counterclockwise, and if you move it down, it goes clockwise. So you kind of like aiming around the little pony as you're jumping over obstacles. And then that's never very challenging. I'll be honest. Like, I don't think I even really died. Maybe one time I just like misclicked or something, but it was very simple. It's not a very challenging game when it comes to that. And the puzzles, like I said, they're not like super hard either. They're kind of like just keep piecing it out and keep messing with it, and then you'll eventually get it. It's not going to be like I'm taking out my notebook and I'm like writing down a bunch of notes like, oh, I saw this and that. No, it's just, you know, kind of look at the screen, kind of just tinker with it, and you'll get to the next part. And I like a puzzle game like that from time to time, where it's not the focus isn't I'm challenged to the point where I need to like think on it and sleep on it. It's nice to have one of those from time to time too. So nothing in this game is going to challenge you to the point where you're like frustrated with it. It's going to be pretty smooth sailing. I think you're in for it for the ride of the story and just the experience of it.
My question, and maybe something that has kind of steered me away from it, I suppose, in the past, upon looking at screenshots. Does this game make your eyes hurt? It seems like it's a lot at certain times. Like it's like you're looking at almost like a CRT screen through your monitor, first of all, which gives it like that curved bubble feel. And then also sometimes there's like intense color coming from it, surrounded by whites and blacks. So that's my question. I said at the beginning, right? It seems like you have to be in the right headspace to play this game, and it seems like a lot when you play it. The way you've been discussing it doesn't seem like it's that way, but did you have any issues with that?
No, I mean, there are parts of the game where it's like, okay, so generally this might be like the lightest of spoilers, so if you're worried about it, maybe skip ahead a minute or two, but as you're going through the game and the experience does evolve to have colors and things like that, and that's kind of part of the storyline. And when they do that, it goes very cutesy, I'll say. And when it gets very cutesy, it's going to be color overload, but it's not going to be the point where your like eyes are bleeding or anything. It's not that Pokemon episode that got banned or anything like that. You know? It's nothing like that. So, but I see where you're coming from, but I think that you might have to be in the headspace to know that you're going to be screwed around with a little bit, and then maybe occasionally there's going to be some flashing lights and then maybe some overwhelming imagery, but I think you'd be good, honestly. I think that maybe not. It's not going to be like to the point where you're like, oh my God, I can't even look at the screen. No, It's never that bad. I don't think it ever gets that bad. Yeah.
Cool.
It does have some music in it. I do think that the tracks that you hear when you're playing, so like I said, there is a colorful, more vibrant Pony Island when it's playing there. It's very cutesy and it feels like a cartoon. And then whenever it's like more black and white and like the retro like to computer TV vibe, it has kind of more of a like NES style soundtrack, which works pretty good. More horror, like think of a horror game in the NES style. It's going to have that type of music playing. I thought it's really well done. I don't know if it's one I'd go back to, but it really suits what you're seeing on screen. And I had my toes were tapping a couple of times. I think there's a couple jams in there, so definitely good on that front. Like I said, the sound effects are great. Like it has a really nice crunchy feel. It feels very retro. The game itself is just, all in all, it's a very great package. And then when you're done with it, it's one, like Steve said, there's moments in it that you're going to just be thinking about like randomly, because it just tricks you, does something unique that you've never seen before. It has a lot of surprises in it, which are worth seeing, I'd say.
Totally agree.
Nice and short and to the point here. Any questions or comments before I throw it on the quest log today?
I don't have
no
any
questions. I will just say I love so much that after the success of Inscription, that Daniel Mullins said, I'm making my next game a sequel to Pony Island, the one that way fewer people played. He's like, now that I'm successful, I'm bringing. I liked my old series. I'm bringing it back, and I'm putting it in the mainstream, and that's. I just have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, and I'm excited to eventually play that sequel, and it makes me think that maybe like next episode I might be like, hey guys, I played this game and I also played Inscription, but hey, we're not talking about Inscription, but I'm playing this other game. Like I feel like it's like close, it's like on my backlog. Like it's maybe before it was like number 17 on my backlog. Now it's like 2 or 3. Like I want to play it. Yes. You know what I mean? Like I gotta play it like really soon type of vibes. So don't be surprised if in either next episode or a couple episodes from now I'm like, hey, I finally played Inscription. Do you want to have a short chat about it? You know, because I'm really ready to jump in, just because like I can't imagine playing this in 2016. Did you play this like when it first came out, Steve? Like, was this like a surprise or no? Did you play it later after the fact, do you think?
I played it after the fact. I want to say I played it maybe right before we started the podcast, right around there. So like it would have been like 2018, 2019, somewhere in that time frame.
But this one, we like imagine being in 2016, like when this first came out, and just like there's like 3 Steam reviews and like not really knowing what it is. It would just be like one of those things like, dude, have you played this? This game's wild. I remember some podcasts talking about it, but I never really like looked into it. But I can't imagine just like being like one of like 50 people to play this, because it's such a special game, I'd say, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like this type of game, you always remember your first, okay? Your first one hits a little different. This wasn't quite my first, but it was one of the earlier games that are like doing some of these things, and I was like, nice, this is, I could go for some more of this.
There's a couple games I played recently like that. I guess 1,000 Times Resist has a little bit of that energy occasionally, and there's other games like that, but it's just like, yeah, this game does something unique and special, and I think everybody should give it a try. I feel like anybody of any sensibility will have a good time with this, or at least find something to take away from it. This one actually would be a great one to play like in October, like a spooker duker time, you know, like it has that, you know, it's a little moody, a little creepy, a little satanic, you know, but obviously I think you guys can tell I'm going to put this on a main quest. Main quest Josh over here, throwing them all over there, you know, but I wasn't sure if I was going to like this game enough to put it on the main quest, but it really did surprise me. And when I stopped playing it and put it down, and I was like, you know what, that was something worth it. And I think that it definitely deserves to be on that side of the quest log here. So main quest, Pony Island.
I just think it's wild. Like, I hadn't even considered Pony Island for this episode because it just wasn't something that I thought was $5. Honestly, like that's just, it's wild to me that is less than $5. So
yeah, it's $4.99 retail. So if you guys want to play it now, you know, it's $5, but maybe wait for this summer sale coming up, and it'd probably be like $1. You know what I mean? Right. This, you know, if you don't already own it. So it's definitely one to pick up, and I think it's well worth the few hours you'll get out of it for sure.
Heck yeah.
Totally. Now, we've said main quest and side quest a number of times in this episode, but there might be some new listeners out there that are just looking for some cheap indies that don't know what the heck a main quest or a side quest is. So, for the uninitiated, main quests are games that Josh brings to the podcast. Side quests.
I'm glad I was like reached over because I have my water over here. I'm glad I didn't end up drinking right when you said that.
That was good.
A main quest is by some measure kind of an all-timer. You know, it's cream of the crop, an easy recommendation. You know, pretty much everybody's going to get something out of it, or games that really excel in whatever it is that they're trying to do. You know, kind of the best of the best, our favorites, however you want to phrase that. Side quests are games that we still really enjoy. Again, this is a show where we don't bring things that we don't enjoy. It's positivity first. So if it's on the side quest, it's still something that we had fun playing. But it might either be a little more specific to someone's tastes, or it might have, you know, one or two caveats, or it might have some rough edges that, you know, you're bristling up against a little bit. Just something that has some piece that you need to call out, or otherwise kept it from quite hitting that main quest status. So both of those lists, like I said earlier, are on IndieQuestPod.com. They're both recommendations. So if you see it on either of those tabs, it's something that we would encourage you to check out. Just our way to sort of filter the sand from the rocks, I suppose. with that, I know Seth is very excited, so I'm gonna let him go last. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
I feel like Seth champions the bargain quest, so I feel like he deserves to get the finale, and so I will go here next. Plus, there's a really loose segue that I can get. So
Perfect.
I'm gonna be bringing a game. I don't know if either of you have ever heard of it, unless you've been snooping on my Steam page, and I know you boys have.
It's
Bringing
hard
a
not
game
to.
called.
It just like sometimes it just pops up on my screen while I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's that. So, yeah.
Bringing a game called Hylics. Hylics. Now, before you saw the little notification that I was playing it in the last 2 weeks, is this something that either of you had ever heard of before?
Speaking personally, no. But then, of course, I clicked into it. Obviously, I'm too. I don't know. I'm too. Want to find out what's going on, and yeah, curious. Wow, look at you go. Yes, that's the word I was looking for. Curious. So I clicked in there, and wow, it is. I don't know what your segue is, but it's also a very weird game from like 2015, 2016.
That is.
Yeah. So the only thing I've seen from this one, I've seen it around, but usually, so I get in these rabbit holes where I'm just looking for like just weird like sales and bundles and stuff. This is like on Fanatical bundles like all the time. Like I seen it like this logo like maybe like 100 times, and I always click in. I'm like, what the hell is this crap? Like, just to be honest, like a very like negative look. I'm like, it looks okay. I'm like, what is this? Okay, whatever. I'll just skip. I'm not getting this. Like so maybe you'll sell me today, because like every time I see it, the art style just really turns me off. Just to be honest with you. So I'm curious.
That's a little, I think, kind of the point, but we'll get into it. So yes, my segue being, here we have another strange one from the mid 2010s. I don't know if Seth is going to complete the hat trick here and we're going to get all mid-2010s games, but we'll see. Hylics, developed by and published by Mason Lindruth, which is a name I wasn't familiar with, and I think they're primarily known as a game developer, but people speak about this developer, Mason Lindruth, as if they have some history that I don't know. Like, this to me seems like just a weird first game that somebody made, but reviews and stuff say like, oh, a Mason Lindruth game always has this kind of energy. I'm like, so I think that they were like known for developing much smaller, like truly more indie projects that were either just like out on itch or just available on the internet for free. It's an RPG Maker game, so maybe it's a name that comes from the RPG Maker community and I'm just not tapped into that. But it is largely a solo development project. It was released October 2nd, 2015, and it is only available on PC, but you can get it on Steam or itch, and it's $2.99. So $3 game. I will say also there is a sequel that came out in 2020, and there's apparently another sequel that's currently being worked on. So every 5 years, the world is blessed with a new Hylics game. What is Hylics? It is a very strange, abstract, very surreal, turn-based RPG. And first and foremost, the thing you are going to notice is its art style, which is, it's like
weird.
Okay, at
Very
a base
bizarre.
level, it is claymation, but then on top of that, it's like heavily dithered and heavily filtered, and it also has like a little like 80s MTV energy to it going on. It's of a very specific style, and it is, I think, sort of intentionally a little off-putting. Like it just sticks in your brain, and you're like, I don't love what I'm looking at, but I think that's the point.
Yeah, it's like if you're on Adult Swim at like 2:45 and there's like a 7-minute short and you're like, did that actually happen to me? Like, did I actually watch that? And you talk to somebody and you're like, did you ever see that short? And they're like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's just like, that's what it feels like to me. Like, it just has that energy.
You were having a fever dream because the TV
Yeah.
was flashing while you were sleeping, and that's what just happened to pop into your head. Yeah, it reminds me, maybe to a lesser level, of like early 90s Nickelodeon and some of the stuff that
Yeah.
they were doing, or Ren and Stimpy, like just that kind of the weird cartoons, and they're like, yeah, kids like gross and weird, and that's what we're going to give them, right? So, but more mature than what we were provided to the Y7 crowd, I suppose, back then.
Yes, totally, 100%. So it is, like I said, it's an RPG Maker game, which means that it is a 2D turn-based RPG. Very unique world, very unique character designs, very unique enemy designs, things like that. Part of that style, or part of what makes that style feel the way that we've described, is that relative to the actual visuals, the animations are quite simple. They're often like, 3 or so frames of animation. Like a walk cycle might just be like straight on, body shifted to the left, body shifted to the right, and the character just goes dunk 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 dunk. But then the actual character doing that movement is this weird claymation monster character that looks like some sort of weird alien. So I would say the games that this one is really borrowing from, you can definitely tell there's some Earthbound energy coming out of this one. This is an Earthbound fan for sure. There's also like some Yume Nikki energy in there, which makes sense because we're in that RPG Maker realm. It's for fans of the weirder, more abstract RPGs. This is like a modern interpretation of that. The game never stops being weird. Like from top to bottom, you always have that feeling like you're playing Earthbound with 104-degree fever, or that like it's like an art installation as a video game. It's quite weird, but at its core, it is a turn-based RPG. So what you're going to do is you play as this character. You'll walk around and you'll talk to different NPCs and get into turn-based battles and things. It does all of the things you'd expect an RPG to do. You can buy gear, equip your character, learn new skills, get stronger, get new party members. But all of those are handled in a very strange way. Each of them is handled in a unique way that is different from pretty much any other RPG that I've ever seen. First of all, this is a game where like juice boxes heal your mana and warm burritos heal your HP.
Same,
and,
though,
Same.
It's so true. But probably the first thing that like RPG fans will notice if you're looking at this game mechanically is that there is not an experience system at all. So you'll get into fights and enemies will drop money, but they will not ever give you experience. So all of the ways that you expect a character to level up are handled via their own unique systems. So like I said, you'll get money from them, and so you'll be able to go to shops and buy better equipment. That's probably the most like typical expected turn-based RPG aspect of it. But in order to get more HP, you need to first lose a battle. You need to die in a battle. When you die in a battle, it's not a game over in this game. You're sent to the afterlife, where you can rest on the couch in the afterlife to heal yourself back up to full. And then in the corner of the afterlife is a meat grinder. And when you've been doing these turn-based battles, enemies will drop chunks of meat. And you can throw all your chunks of meat into the meat grinder. And based on the number of meat chunks you throw in, your maximum health points will go up a certain amount. And so the only way to get stronger is to die and basically cash in all of the fights up to this point that you fought in. To learn skills, those are hidden throughout the world in the form of television sets, and so you'll need to find television sets, and each one will teach you one unique skill. And you have to remember where they are, weirdly enough, because if you get any party member can learn any skill in the game, but when you get a new party member, they won't retroactively learn the skills from TVs you've already found, so you'll have to like take them on a little tour of the world to go to the TVs that you want them to have that skill. So there's like a particularly good healing skill, which, spoilers, there is. You got to make sure you bring your new party members back to that TV so that they have that healing skill queued up.
Do they have like I know you said take them around the world, but is it actually, intermixed into the story so it makes sense for you to do that? Or does it feel like backtracking?
It feels like backtracking.
Okay.
Now, this is a pretty condensed world, and there is a fast travel, although you can only access it from the afterlife. So in order to fast travel, you have to die. But you do find like these crystals that will let you exit the afterlife basically wherever you want to go, or into all the major areas. But this is the type of game where there's, I mean, I'll say up front, this is like a 3.5 hour game. So pretty short by RPG standards.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably, eight dungeons and a couple of towns in total. So you can get around the world pretty snappy. Plus, there are no random encounters in the game, I should mention. This is the type of RPG where you can see all the enemies on the overworld map. And actually, once you've killed them, they're dead forever. Like, there's no respawning enemies at all. So if you clear out a dungeon, you can go back to whenever you want, and you'll just run over the bloody piles of goo that were once enemies below you. So, and then the last way that you'll level up is in order to increase your mana pool, you will find paper cups, which are like a hidden rare key item, and then you'll find water coolers, like office water coolers hidden throughout the world, and you fill up a paper cup of water and drink that, and then all your party members get their max MP increased. So all these different places that you're searching for like permanent upgrades, none of which are experience based or level based, which is fine. It's like, I'm the type of guy that appreciates a good level up, like a good satisfying Dragon Quest.
Yep.
But it still had a similar feeling to die and like go back and cash in all those meats and suddenly see your character have like twice as much health as they once did. And this is an RPG of relatively low numbers. I mean, your health pool is never going to get higher than a couple hundred health points, and you're dealing, damage in the double digits most of the time. So a little bit goes a long way.
Does it seem like it's almost like a difficulty modifier, like the health system, where if I am good at the game, I don't actually have to die, and therefore I will also have low health? Like, do you think there's a way to go deathless, or does everyone just go into the same stream eventually?
I don't think that you could beat the game without engaging with any of those systems, like do like a level 1 run or anything like that. To some degree, it's sort of that, in that you can kind of see how far you can push it before you die. And it's nice that you can consciously choose to do that, and death isn't punitive. So you're not like, oh, I got so close. Instead, you're like, okay. There was even a couple of times where I was like purposefully tanking a fight to be like, guys, come on, kill me. I want to get to that afterlife so I can go buff my guys up. Nice. I'm ready. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it does make the difficulty curve unique. I'll say my personal experience with it was the game started relatively tough, especially before you get your first party member, because then there's a real, like, the math of how many attacks they can take versus you can take is pretty rigid. But once you get a second party member and like your first round of gear, from there I was able to pretty much coast. It was not too difficult at all. So it's an RPG. So you would think, okay, I love turn-based battles, but I also want a story. I want a good story to go along with it. And that is yet another way that this game is just weird. So it seems like, and the game even says this like front and center in like their bullet points on their Steam page, they took a relatively simple, kind of like a Dragon Quest kind of story. Like there's a big bad, you're on a quest to stop them. It's not like Knights and, Dragons type of RPG, but that's still the core conceit. But then the actual story is like incomprehensible gibberish words, because they use like a random text generator to generate the dialogue in this game. And not like I went to like, Chat GPT and I said, write the script for a Dragon Quest game. It's almost like they had like a simple idea and then they like played a game of telephone or like just threw a bunch of noise at the wall to get a different segment. So like, for example, I just pulled one line out of the game as an example of this type of text. One of the NPCs that you walked up to says, "Meanwhile, at the Moon Palace, Gibby indulges. Soon, a burning semi-hope will be wrongfully levitated." And so it's all just sentences like that where you're like, is there meaning here? Like, should I be picking this? Like, I think at this core, I kind of understand what you're telling me, but also this seems like a computer just spitting out noise when it has an error and doesn't know, like a syntax error at the same time.
It's like somebody who just discovered the thesaurus for the first time and is just trying to like change every word in a sentence. That's what it sounds like.
Right.
Yes.
It almost sounds like, oh, instead of you need 1,000 words for this paper, we're just good with 1,000 letters. So just hit us with all the long words that make no sense in these sentences.
Yes. So it's like they replaced every single word in their script with a different word that means roughly the same thing. Sometimes the word they switched it with is a metaphor. Sometimes the word they switched it with is like hyphenated in a way that two words aren't actually hyphenated in real life. So at first I was like, kind of like in with it and sort of like, all right, this is, this game's weird. I'm doing the weird game thing. By the end, I was mostly just like clicking through the dialogue because I was like, I'm not getting anything out of this. So why am I bothering to read this? It's not like I ever need to read the dialogue to know where to go. And then on top of that, the last big pillar of an RPG, I always want the story to be good. I really want the battle system to be interesting. And then the last big piece of an RPG is that music has to hit. Would you believe me if I told you the music in Hylics is weird? It's like little guitar twangs and bits of noise. It's like surfer acid rock, kind of like. Is this what the kids refer to when they say shoegaze? I don't know what a shoegaze is, but it's certainly not music that you would like put on and listen to, but it has that energy of like a nightmare sequence churning inside your mind that this game is going for. So it fits in that way, right? It just being a lot of like random plucks and chords that don't cleanly fit together, but kind of do.
Just looking at it, like I feel like I can hear it. The screenshots alone make me feel like, okay, they had an idea of what they wanted the music to sound like, and then they used all the wrong instruments and just changed the keys here and there, so they were just slightly off, and that makes it strange, right?
Yes.
I mean, a lot of games do this for one level or one area and not their entire game, right? Like they just make it weird to make you feel like, oh, okay, I know that I'm in a strange place right now, but that's, it's interesting. I kind of want to go listen to the OST just to know, right?
Right.
I think you would listen to it the one time and be like, now I understand. And then it would probably not come to an IQ OST episode in the future.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I keep like levying this sort of like criticism / descriptor on the game of it being weird. To be clear, it's not like arbitrary for arbitrary's sake. I really do think that this developer, like, in their mind had a cohesive vision. It's just like their mind works very different from mine. And so their cohesive vision to me is like, I've been awake for 46 hours and I'm not sure if I'm hallucinating or not.
Yeah. Very psychedelic, right? Like, it's like they know when you play this that the whole point is to kind of feel a little off. I feel like that's the whole energy, but in a positive, like in a good way, feel a little off, right? That's how you kind of leave this game, I would assume, at least.
It makes me feel like when I walk into an art museum, and I'm not a big stare at art kind of guy, right? I'll look, I know what the Mona Lisa is and stuff like that, but there are people out there who that's what they do, right? They go to an art museum and they look at paintings and they're like, I understand what the artist was, what their theory on life is based on looking at this piece of art. That to me is kind of Hylics in video game form. Like they had this grand idea of what they wanted, and certain people will come into it and be like, oh, this makes complete and total sense. I understand what they were going for based on this and this and such and such. Whereas, maybe the average gamer is like, it's kind of cool. I get like it's that's what when I look at a piece of art, I'm like, awesome, good for you. I get like that's sweet, but I don't get it really, so.
It's true. And this is not a There's a lot of people that do really connect with this style, or like they're very much in this spirit, right? That this is a game that has almost 6,000 reviews on Steam, overwhelmingly positive. So its fan base are big fans. Maybe it's the type of game that hitting the entirety of it completely sober isn't the move.
Right.
I'm not sure.
I was thinking that. I was thinking that earlier when you first started talking. Like, if you tell someone who is a Hylics fan, I played Hylics, will they immediately be like, "But you were stoned, right?" Like as you're telling them how you were playing, and like, "Oh, it was kind of weird, but you did smoke weed, right?" Like,
yeah. I mean, all the battle animations are like these two animated hands that come out and kind of like draw weird shapes out of clay. I can imagine in the right headspace and under the right influences, that's really fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. I was like, I keep seeing these weird like hand animations. It like almost looks like it's filmed, like with him messing with the clay or something, right?
Yeah. So the battle system it's very similar to Earthbound. It doesn't have the rolling health that Earthbound has, but other than that, it is first person the way Earthbound is. And when you use your spells, it's similar to Earthbound, where in Earthbound you use like Psy Rockin' or Psy Gaming or whatever, and it does like a little sort of visual colory splash animation. Mm-hmm. It's that, except the colory splash animation is weird goopy claymation, and then there's also these two gloved hands kind of like dancing and like casting the spell. Master Hand from Smash Bros shows up in Hylics.
Yeah.
So their stats, I don't know what the heck they were. I never took the time to figure them out. They're named like Jalility, Philosophology, Cooking. So I think they translate to like attack, defense, whatever. A lot of times when I went to equip new weapons, I don't know if I was just misunderstanding it, but like in the shop, it would show me like this weapon will be stronger by this many points. And then in the actual equip menu, it would always show my stats unchanging. So I'm like, is that just, am I misunderstanding something, or is the system's not always showing me a stat increase? It was fine. I always made it through. I just kind of operated on the more expensive gear equals better gear mantra, and it got me through. But yeah, she's a strange one. So what are your Hylics questions, if any, before we round this out and place her on the quest log?
I just wanted to say I was looking at the itch page, and there's a quote from Rock Paper Shotgun. It says, "I'll be honest with you, I haven't got a clue what's going on. Hylics basically is a malaria dream about sausages or something." That's just kind of feels like it sums it up a bit. And also, just a comment on the creator of the game, Mason Lindroth. I was kind of you were like, what did he do? He's actually really huge into the Ludum Dare scene, which is the game jam scene. So maybe he's been doing this. It looks like he's been doing it since about 2012, and he kind of like submits a small game every year since then. So he has a look and a vibe that everybody knows from the game jams. So that'll just answer that question mark for you there. But yeah, I was just kind of curious. I was like, what is he known for? And that's it. So he just made a bunch of weird games that kind of look similar to this. So yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe this is like one of the breakout successes of that.
I can't remember if you mentioned, Steve, but this is a bargain quest. So quick little comment here. This is a $3 game, which is kind of
$3.
$3. Full price. So on sale, it's probably about $1, right? For this 4-hour RPG where you have no idea what's going on and you feel like you have a fever. Do you ever find out what a Hylic is?
I have no idea what that name is. Not a clue. Like your name in the game is Wayne, and then everybody else has names that sound like eldritch gods, like Deadstumuln and Somnosa and stuff like that. So I never met James Hylic, Tony Hylickson. Not familiar. Don't know what a Hylic is. Maybe it's the name of the world, like the land that you're in. Couldn't say. Mm-hmm. Anything else?
It's just a weird one. I don't even know what questions to ask. I feel like it's like I'm just like this looks cool, and like something this could only come from one person's very specific auteur artistic vision, right? Like this could not come out of like a big studio. This could not come out of like the EA is not going to be making Hylics. This comes out from somebody who sat down is like, you know what, I'm just gonna make something a little weird, and it means something to me, and then hopefully you get something out of it. I know what it means, and maybe others will too, and that's about it, right? That's what I'm getting from this one.
We can retroactively go back to 2015 and award Hylics the indiest indie game of 2015.
It's so true. It's done. So, yes, to keep with the stereotypes, Side Quest Steve is coming in strong on this one. This thing is a side quest. This is like the truest side quest I've ever seen in my life, in that there's going to be a certain subset of people listening to the show that play this, and they're really going to connect with it, and like it is going to speak to them on like a profound, deep level. And there's going to be another half of the people that play this, and they're like, what the hell is going on? Like, none of this makes any sense. And I'm kind of, I think, in the middle there. I'm like still on air, alive, working out my feelings on this game. But it is definitely one that is not for everybody. And it is one that like 5% of the population that I think play this are going to be like, Hylics is an all-timer. I can't get enough of this game. All modern games are bland oatmeal compared to Hylics. So
yeah, this is somebody's Outer Wilds, right? Hylics is somebody's Outer Wilds. Yeah,
it is. And from what I've heard, the second one is kind of like bigger, better, more. So I do plan on at some point going and playing the second one. Like, Mason, you son of a bitch, you got me. I'm in.
That's funny.
But yeah, side quest, Hylics, check it out. It's $3. It's probably $1 on any Steam sale, like Seth said.
Awesome.
All
right. So we've made it to me. As Steve mentioned, I do really love. This is only the second one we've done, and of course we've brought games that are, our last Bargain Quest was less than $3. This one's less than $5. Usually you try to challenge yourself more with the next one, but I think we were just like, let's expand our horizons. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But did we do one? We did. This is our third one. We did one that was free games too, I think.
Oh yeah, I guess I never considered those to be bargain. But yeah,
that's I guess that's a bargain, right? It's free. You don't got to.
It is very, very much a bargain. But yeah, I think at some point we were like, oh, let's do cheap games and then actual free games, so we don't intertwine. But yes, agreed. Okay, Josh, you're right on that.
Similar. Okay.
Yes, for sure. So I very much enjoy kind of diving in and playing a whole bunch of different stuff. This episode specifically has kind of padded my stats a little bit on the old 2025 indie beats. I've been beating a lot in the last couple weeks, many of which I would not bring here. And we mentioned the main quest and the side quest. There's a lot of them that I could not bring to this list just because I just don't think that they're kind of cut out for what we try to go for here. Perfectly fine games, but not side quest worthy. So with all that, I have played several games that I think do belong on the quest log, but I have narrowed it down to 2. And I mentioned to my boys here that I would like them to converse and pick one of these games for me to review. One of the first times I can ever remember that I actually have notes on 2 separate games. So I'm not even going to tell you the title. I'm going to tell you the genre. And I'm going to tell you right now that this genre I'm telling you is not genre soup. It's very much high-level genre. You guys are going to have to figure it out and choose.
Okay.
So, I have one that is a walking sim. And I have another that is a roguelite.
Ooh.
You guys have to choose between those.
So very much like a rogue. I think roguelite. I think a game that you're gonna be super into, but then the walking sim is maybe you stepping out of your comfort zone a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Could be.
This is interesting. Although I feel like when Seth plays a story-based game, he's got a good sense for picking bangers. Here's the like when he goes in for a walking sim or a story-based game, he kind of knows this one's going to make it work. Roguelike could, they're not all Gungeons. So that one could be a little more up in the air. Let me ask you this. Like, I want to know how deep this dunk tank is. The game that doesn't get selected, is it ever going to show up in a future episode, or is it basically gone and done and dusted?
Well, we know how these things go, right? Sometimes when we play a game 1 week, we kind of forget about it for the rest of time. I'm not saying it won't come back. What I will say is both of these games are very interesting and unique experiences in their own way. And all I'll say on top of that is I've told you the general genre. Steve, you already said something about story. I'm not saying there's any story in these games. Don't you get that confused now. So don't get super excited for this deep budget story is all I'm saying. I'm just saying one is a walking sim and the other is a roguelite.
Oh, I'm just gonna ask one question. I'm gonna see if I can see if your face changes when I say this.
Okay.
All right.
Adjusting his poker face.
Is this getting a little nubby in here?
Oh, you had to. I was honestly hoping that by me saying that genre that you guys would be like, oh, that's Nubby's Number Machine. And so we know what that one is, but we don't know what the other one is. I will say, I will spoil it here. The roguelite that I'm bringing is not Nubby's Number Machine.
I know we all were kind of like playing that, so like that. I was just curious. So
we all this is how good we are. All right, how great we are at marketing our own show is we all played the hottest game going around right now that is under $5.
Yeah,
and none of us brought it to the show to talk about.
I thought about it.
So here's what I'm thinking. I feel like Josh and I are both more likely to lean towards the walking sim. I think that's more our speed. However, I think the roguelite might be a more interesting value proposition at $5 or less. You can get a fair number of $5 and under walking sims out there. Although a roguelite less common, unless it's Downwell. Do we already have Downwell on the...
Yeah, we do.
Yeah,
we do.
Downwell.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if we had that one or not, but other than Downwell, I don't know a lot of cheap roguelites. So
yeah, I think we did
tough
the Downwell pick when it was Daddy Steve time. I'm pretty
yes,
sure.
that's correct.
Yeah. Anyway, I feel like I am leaning a little more roguelite just for that value proposition angle. I feel like when you do a walking sim, it could be a 30-minute experience. It could be like 2 hours. It might be a short little thing that's worth chewing on. I'm gonna just put my hat in there. My vote is the roguelite right now.
Okay. I'm gonna confirm that. I'll notarize it so that's official. So let me ask, which one did you want us to pick?
Oh, dude, I'm telling you, I was so divided for very different reasons on these two games because I think that we might have a loose title for weird because no matter what, both of the games that I was thinking about bringing are also weird. Maybe not quite as weird as Hylics, but they're both strange. So we're going roguelite then, right? That's what we want to do?
Yep. Confirmed.
So I guess I can tell you the other game, right?
Yeah.
Perhaps I'll bring it in the future, or one of you two could, because I feel like this is a game that should be on the quest log eventually, and you'll see why I mean weird. You guys ever hear of a game called The Exit 8?
Yes, I've heard of
I
it.
have. I've almost played that many times, and I'm familiar with the idea. So interesting.
Yes. So I almost brought The Exit 8, and the little caveat to The Exit 8 that I was going to do was I was going to say, I'm bringing The Exit 8. Oh, and also, why not? Well, I'll just bring Platform 8 as well. I was going to just talk through both games at once because they're very much companion pieces. Yes, that would technically put us over the budget, but they are both under $5. So I was going to say, call it even Stevens. I'm not doing that. You guys didn't pick that. So in the future, all I'll say about those games, very interesting, very unique, very cool experiences. But I think I am a little bit happy that you picked the roguelite because what do you guys remember what happened, a few days ago? What day of the year it was?
No, I don't remember anything that happened like over 24 hours ago. No, I don't know.
Prank City.
Well, yes. Prank City on 4/1. All right. That's April Fool's Day.
Yeah.
So I feel like, yes, this isn't releasing on April Fool's Day, but this is almost the quintessential April Fool's Day. It's such a meme of a game. So I brought a game that is a roguelite called Roguelite Deck Builder. Have you guys heard of this game?
I have.
Yeah.
I'm just so excited about this. I'm so glad. We picked a roguelite now.
If Steve hasn't heard of it, it is just oh my god! It is such a stupid game for what.
These are not the screenshots I was expecting to see.
I know.
Obviously I've heard of this one, and like this is the one. I don't know if I did send it to Mo, but I feel like it's like either I must have sent a DM to Mo about this one. I feel like I did, because it's like I was like, this is just hilarious. I got to show somebody, you know.
Yes, I almost leaned, even though I already had told you guys, hey, I want you guys to pick, and I thought that was a very fun thing that we just did. I would like to kind of do that in the future. Actually, that was just an interesting back and forth. It was good podcasting, they might say. But I almost, after you guys both brought Pony Island and Hylics, I was like, oh my god, I have to bring Roguelite Deck Builder. It is the goofiest choice I could make. It would go perfectly with these other two games for this weird bargain quest that we're doing. So, before I get into it, it released this year on March 17th. It was developed by Gil Lawson, and the platform is only PC right now, and I have a feeling it will only ever be PC for one specific reason that I'll get to. Overview. Roguelite Deck Builder. That's all I got. So, obviously, if everyone hasn't automatically gone to screenshots right now, this is a roguelite deck builder. It truly is a roguelite. It is a roguelite, but the joke, the meme, I suppose, of the title of this game is that you are an unnamed character whose task it is to build decks. Like literally a deck made out of wood that you have going off your back porch. Right?
Yeah, I was going to say like where like your gazebo and your barbecue would go.
Yeah,
correct.
It's very much a Burger Champ comment of the video game, right?
Yes, that is awesome. Yeah, that's a great tie-in. When I had gone into this game, I'm like, okay, I get the premise. You're building a deck, so that's the deck builder part. I don't understand the roguelite part. Maybe I'll figure it out once I start playing. The roguelite part is as simple as there is a light bulb lighting the deck for you while you're working, and every once in a while it goes out. So it is a roguelite.
Oh
my god.
Yes.
Oh my god.
So it is meme city in this game. This is probably the single goofiest game I have ever brought to IndieQuest, honestly. But it's here. So it's worthy of going on the quest log somewhere, right? So presentation. It kind of reminded me of like early 2000s PC, maybe late 90s PC, almost like a mix between PS1 and PS2 sort of graphics. It's really hard to like completely explain what this game looks like. You're really only in two different areas. You're in this inside the house talking to a character that I'll get to in a moment. And then you go out of the sliding door, right, and onto the deck where all that's built so far is just like the base of it, right? So you have to actually lay down the wood on top of the actual base of the deck that's already built for you. And that's it. But it is quite grainy. It gives me that like 90s feel. The character, especially that you talk to, gives me that 90s goofy feel. Kind of Hylicsy in a way. So it's kind of nice that you brought that game. It's an easy touch point now.
The main character is very Hylicsy.
Yes.
Also, this is going to be the world's worst like comparison that is going to help nobody but you understand. And that's that it kind of has slice and hook haunted miniature golf.
Yes, it does. That is perfect PC comparison. But it's like that 90s PC jank.
Yes,
weirdness.
like weird 3D and all the text is just like plain text laid on top of the screen. It doesn't fit in with the world at all. The HUD is like very almost looks like kind of cheaply made and sort of just stuck in front of the gameplay. It doesn't fit in with the world.
Yeah. Spoiler for later, I suppose, but the whole point of this game, and I guess we're here now, so I'll kind of get into the story, but the whole point of this game is for you to eventually make $1 million. How can you make money building your own deck? I guess we'll kind of get into it a little bit. It makes no sense in the context of real life, but for whatever reason, you're building your own deck, and every plank of wood that you put down, every nail that you drive in, you make money from it. And eventually you have to get $1 million to purchase a key from the shop to give to, I'll just say now, the person behind like this counter that you talk to. Their name is Husband. Just Husband. And it's basically like, husband would like you to do this. And it can be kind of figured out that person is your husband, but it never says like, I am your husband. They just like refer to themselves as husband. Husband needs you to go build deck. And so that's what you do. You go and build a deck. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the whole story. You don't really know why you're doing any of this other than I got to build this deck. I thought maybe if I had played it a couple times, there would be more touch points. It doesn't seem like there is. Maybe more will come out over time because I know they're still updating. The dev is still updating this game over time and giving it more probably items and whatever else that you can actually use in the roguelite, truly the roguelite section of this game. But as of right now, it just, you are there, you show up, you build deck, you buy key, you free husband. Like that's, you give husband the key and then husband's like, thank you. And then walks out and then you win. And then you go back and you start again. So I think that that pretty much covers that. Music. There is no music. There's no music in Roguelite Deck Builder. You're just listening to yourself swinging this hammer, hitting these nails. Every once in a while, you hit yourself in the hand and you go, ouch. And that's pretty much it. You can splat a bug. So I would say that the sound bites that you hear from like the actual stuff happening is really good. Like if I hit a hammer and I don't do a very good job, it's going to give me an okay. It'll say on screen, okay, and the words kind of fall to the deck and eventually disappear, and that happens over and over again. So it kind of gives you like this, like, oh, more of a whimper sound when you get an okay. But if you get a perfect, it makes you feel really good. It's a really nice sound, right? But in terms of actual music playing in the background, there is none. So if you want something in the background, turn on your favorite OST because there's not anything there.
Or just listen to IndieQuest, I recommend doing that. Why not?
This is a great podcast game. I was actually watching, I think, the Red Wings play while I was like just kind of going back and forth, watching the Red Wings building deck, watching the Red Wings building a deck. Like it's the perfect, like, have something else on while you're playing this game or listen to something else like a podcast. So great recommendation there, Josh. So gameplay, what are you doing? I guess prime reason this must be on PC, right? So you guys are looking at screenshots. You're basically two disattached hands, right? One holds the nail and the other one's holding the hammer. And the way you swing the hammer is you kind of like very meticulously move your mouse back and forth. You're not clicking a button. You're not clicking the scroll wheel, although the scroll wheel does help you like navigate back and forth on the deck to go to different planks of wood. But you're literally holding your mouse and moving it up, like vertically forward from you and then back to swing that hammer down. As you can imagine in a game like this, it is very like that goofy, rubbery physics where you start this game and you are absolutely terrible at it. You're hitting your hand constantly. You're never hitting the nail. But then you kind of like get into this rhythm as you play where you start to figure out the exact timing that you need to not only hit the nail, but also hit them well so you can actually get perfects. I will say it is not the easiest thing to get perfects, but there are functions in this game that help that, and we'll get to that here in a moment. It is possible to always get a perfect even from the start of your run. It takes a lot of precision to do so, depending on which section of the run you're on. So with that, I'll just jump into different nail types that you can actually get as you're playing. So generally, you pull a nail from your bucket, and it is a nail. It looks like a nail, like any nail you've ever seen in real life. But every once in a while, the nail you pull out will be like a different goofy character. Sometimes it's an alien. I think that the point of the alien is it goes back and forth, so it makes it a little bit harder to hit. But honestly, I couldn't really tell that it does anything special other than that. Every once in a while, there are a lot of really, not a lot, but a few very special nails. So sometimes you pull a nail out and it's got eyes on it. As long as you hit that nail, you will get a perfect. And that's cool. Sometimes you pull a nail out that's like this dude that's like covering his head and has a very worried look on his face. And he will literally have a pop-up bubble that says, "Oh, please be gentle," or whatever. So the whole point of that is don't swing it hard. Swing it as lightly as possible while actually being able to drive the nail, and you will get a perfect each time you do it, right? So those are kind of the cool, fun ways that they vary the gameplay to beyond just I'm hammering a nail, and that's all I do, right? Mm-hmm. Beyond that, and into the more like true roguelite part of this game, every time you go back in, you, like I said, get money from driving nails, from laying planks down. Every once in a while, you'll get a plank that's like a cash plank, where if I go through and get all the nails pounded in within a certain amount of time, the timer's constantly, or the money is constantly going down. But if I do it in a certain amount of time, I'll get whatever money is left, right? It's draining, but I can do it quickly and then get that money. So it's kind of incentivizes get those nails put in as quickly as possible. But of course, that also makes it like, I'm nervous. I need to do this. And then you're hitting yourself in the hand. You're hitting yourself in the wrong place because you're trying to do it quickly. And it's just not a game that works. Precision is what this game is all about, right? So if you try to rush and you get out of your typical rhythm, it gets a lot harder. But after each deck, I suppose, that you build, you go back into the house. Husband will say something about, it's generally nonsense, but that sometimes he'll say like, "Oh, maybe I should help you build a deck. Anyway, go build a deck." You know, that type of thing is like, okay, thanks, man. So, but there's a shop or like a wall, I suppose, where you can purchase upgrades to the things you have. So you can upgrade your hammer, you can upgrade your gloves, and you can upgrade your nails. All of these things basically allow you to get a higher probability of perfects, right? And that is what you want. You want to get perfect nails, and you want to get perfect planks. Like every nail, 4 nails on a plank of wood, I want to get all perfect because I get more money by getting perfect nails and perfect strikes and perfect planks, right? And kind of the whole point of this game is to get $1 million and be done. There are leaderboards. There are achievements tied to building the deck in so few of seconds, right? So it's all about building that perfect build to allow yourself to finish as few of decks as possible and make as much money off of them as you possibly can, right? So nice. The perfect game is where you want to be at, but it is very hard to get perfects at the beginning. Like you almost have to have a several times upgraded hammer and nails and gloves. There's also bugs that kind of roam around on the wood that you can splat and they give you money. You can upgrade that. You can upgrade the cash planks. There's lots of cool upgrades you can do, as you would in any roguelite. Then once you get that $1 million, you buy the key and the game is over. That's really it. That is roguelite deck builder. And I will say it seems like a really gimmicky, goofy game. But that process of doing this repeatedly, I kind of understand. It made me understand a little bit better why people enjoy like idler games. It isn't for me typically just to have a game running on my screen while I'm not really looking at it and I don't have to interact with it a whole lot, or even clickers to a certain extent. But this just gives me enough of incentive, extra little thing that makes me want to get better at it, that kept driving me. Like I would build a deck sometimes and be like, I'm kind of good. Like after I'm done with this deck, I'm going to step away. I can save it and I can come back and I can play it again later on. But that would always lead to bare minimum 3 more decks. As soon as I was thinking that, I would get done with that deck. I'd be like, I got time for another deck. It only takes like a couple minutes. I'll do another deck. And then it's like, I bet I could do it better now. I'm going to go to the shop and I'm going to get a new hammer and I'm going to see how many perfects I have. I'm going to go build another deck. It's just, it's one of those goofy, addictive things. Yes, they absolutely got me. And I did a few runs. I was achievement chasing, trying to get that timer down. Eventually I'll definitely go back. It's such a good time wasting game. It is very fun for that. So do you guys have any questions?
my only question really for this one is since it is kind of a meme and everything, is it are the controls like impossible? They sound like they're not, but like sometimes I've played these like these games that are purposely difficult, quote unquote, or streamer bait, quote unquote, which I feel like this is kind of leaning that direction. It sounds like you can master the controls after you get the feel for it and upgrade a bit, obviously.
Yes.
Right.
Initially I was frustrated, and it's funny because I think my son came in and watched me play it for a minute, and he's like, I'm going to try. Okay, go ahead. You know, he's seeing me like drive these nails. It's very much that game where, let's say there was a streamer playing this game and they had already been playing it for like a half an hour or whatever. People would come and be like, I don't really see what's so difficult about this, because they could watch this person driving these nails and doing pretty well. But then as soon as they would purchase the game, they'd be like, what the? Am I just terrible at video games? I am so bad at this. But it's one of those things you just kind of get the hang of, and that is what drives you to continue to do more decks and then more runs. Like I'm getting incrementally better every time I play, and I want to continue to get better. It's that feeling where there's not really any reward outside of a couple of achievements, other than I can feel myself getting better, and that makes me feel good, right? And that's kind of the driving force.
Also, but just before Steve asks this question, every time you say drive in here, I just want to say pun intended, because you're driving me in. Anyway, go ahead.
What was the total like start to a million time frame? Was it like a half an hour or longer?
So it's funny. It actually breaks it down in seconds. I think that my first run was around 4,000 seconds, and that's total time actually building the deck. Yes, should I have done that math in my head? Probably. I will say that I'd done like 3 runs. That's
about an hour. About 66 minutes.
4,000 seconds is 66 minutes, really?
Yes, 66.66666.
Okay,
minutes.
That's longer than I thought it was going to be. But so yeah, I guess that's it. But there is an achievement, and now I will say not a whole lot of people have this achievement. There's an achievement. There's several achievements for like doing it in quicker and quicker times. But the lowest second counter achievement is like 1,300. So they really want you driving some nails and doing it very well. So I'm not to the point where, like, I'd gotten it down. I think my last run, I was around like 3,000 seconds. But kind of the cool thing is you can stop at any time and then go back in whenever you want. And it doesn't count your time. Like, you can spend as much time talking to husband or looking at the shop as you want. That doesn't count towards your time actually building decks. But yeah, I mean, I would say the best people in the world are probably building their deck in sub 10 minutes or whatever, right? So
dang.
Building all their decks, I suppose. It never really explains to you either why I go out there, I build a deck, and then the next time I go out there, there's no deck. I just have to keep building decks. The deck vanishes every time, but I think that's the meme of it, right? So
how did you find this game? Because I know you're usually like just a Steam hopper, like you just jump recommendations and store pages and stuff. If I saw this banner and it just said roguelite deck builder, I never would have clicked on it, because I 100% would have assumed that it was like a cheap asset flip kind of game.
Yep. I found it because I was perusing Steam, as I do, and had filtered to under $5, which unfortunately gives you sale games sometimes, if I remember correctly, based on how I had it, right? Well, I end up like scrolling down, and every time it is very much window shopping, like as you mentioned, Steve, right? If anything looked remotely cool or not like cheap anime knockoff of something else, I was clicking on it. Well, a $5 game that was actually reviewed fairly highly. Like, I could already see there was a thumbs up and several hundred reviews on this game, and it's just called roguelite deck builder. Like, that's a genre. Why is it called that? So then I click into it, and I immediately chuckled. Like, that's very, very like right, nail on the head, pun intended, right? So I was like, oh my, that's going immediately to my wish list, and I'm going to check that out. I knew as soon as I saw it that I would play it. I didn't know how good it would be or if it would hold enough water to actually be brought here, but it does. Like, it's truly fun. Like, it is a fun time wasting type game, and there's enough memery in there to make you chuckle a few times. Like it's good. So
Heck yeah.
all right. With that, I'm going to put Roguelite Deck Builder on the quest log. And I don't think it's going to be a surprise to anyone that this is a side quest. This is not a main quest game. It just, they didn't make this as a main quest game. This was never going to be a main quest game. The developer, if they had listened to this episode of IndieQuest, would be like, yeah, I know what my game is. That's a side quest.
I know what I'm about.
yeah. So, but I would not, like, anybody that's got a PC and just wants to have a fun little thing to do and wants to chuckle, play this game. It is super interesting, super funny. You know, I'm not always into like the whole meme culture thing and let's make this game a complete joke, but they really did a good job at making this, like, doing the thing. They really did the thing, and they did it well. So go play this game. The gameplay is actually quite serviceable. It's pretty darn fun. So I enjoyed my time with it, and I'm sure I'll enjoy going back to it from time to time.
Awesome. Very nice. So to recap for folks, that puts our strange funny game, Roguelite Deck Builder, on the side quest. We have our strange game, Hylics, also on the side quest. And then we have our strange creepy game, Pony Island, on the main quest.
Heck yeah.
A good trio. And all of them, the whole lot, can almost be purchased for $10. You know, it's like $11 to get all of those games. So
yeah,
not bad.
That's an awesome weekend right there. If you buy all 3 of those games, you're gonna have an amazing Saturday, right? Just chilling, playing some just kind of out there but cool indie games, which
yes,
I love to see it. I was surprised though that nobody brought Nubby's Number Factory though, because we all played it. I didn't beat it yet. I didn't beat a run yet, but I did play for about an hour. It's kind of the hotness, right? Northern Lions playing it, of course, so that definitely shoots it up to the top of the charts and stuff. So, but
yeah,
cool game.
It might show up in a future episode, you know? You never know what the world is going to hold.
And we talked about it now. We have talked about it for several minutes to the point where I think it can absolutely be included in our tags and go towards our SEO. So, yeah. You're welcome, everyone.
We talked about Nubby's Number Adventure, another roguelite. Nubby's Number Adventure. It's Pachinko Balatro. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for our episode. Another awesome bargain quest. I think these are always really fun because I'm sure people probably haven't heard of any of these games ever and are hearing from them because they're so out there and different, which we love that. This is definitely leaning more towards the obscure thing when we say Indian obscure. So I love that. But time to plug some stuff, plug us, plug our things that we're doing and where people can find us. You can find the show at IndieQuest Pod on Blue Sky. You can send us more emails about these games, or if you've played a game on the quest log and you want to talk about it for our second opinion episode next time, send us an email at IndieQuestPod@gmail.com. We'll read all those on the show in our Campfire Chat segment. You can find us online, IndieQuest Pod. I think I already said that. Steve, where can they find you on the internet? That's what I was supposed to say next.
Twitch and Twitter is Blinkoom, Blink-O-O-M, wherever, well, not wherever, in those 2 spots. How about you, Seth?
You can find me, I think this is several in a row where I think that Steve's just really dialed into his lane, right? I think what he means is Twitch and Blue Sky.
Oh, did I say Twitch and Twitter? Yeah. I got to erase my brain. I'm not on Twitter at all. Don't go find me on Twitter because you're going to find the graveyard of a man who once was. Twitch and Blue Sky. As Blinkum. Please, for the love.
You can find me at Blue Sky as well as Captain Drachma. And, of course, in the Polymedia Discord. Best place on the internet. If you want to get into that Discord, head over to Patreon. Type in Polymedia. Get into that first tier. Come and chat with us. Josh, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on Blue Sky, Josh Leslie, which is just my name. But I'm occasionally streaming too, so just kind of keep an eye out there. I'm not like sitting on a schedule. I'm just doing it for fun whenever I feel like I'm just itching to stream. So if you guys want to see that, check that out. My Twitch URL is Frantic Josh. Yeah, that's correct. I had to remember that. But yeah, check that out. Follow me over there. It's been fun. Just hanging out, just doing random stuff over there.
I gotta say, I was liking the streams. I hope that you do some more of those. That was quite nice to pop in on.
Thank
For
you.
sure.
I was like trying to do some unique stuff like the Mario randomizer, and Steve's like, "You're already in this game. You're just started, and you're like doing randomizers already." I'm like, "Why not? Let's do it." So it was fun.
Another shout out I want to give in the plugs here is, we've talked many a times here about Cato Buttered Cat, and I was invited on to the Pre-Order Bonus podcast, which is another excellent indie, not entirely indie focused, but largely indie focused show. To talk about Cato Buttered Cat. So I played through that, and you can go hear my impressions of that one over there, because I was late to the game. These two hunks were the only two that had played it come Game of the Year time, so I'm all caught up now. So go check out that episode. And if we can, we'll put a link to that in the show notes too.
Yeah, I'll remember to do that. All right, awesome. And then Seth brought up Polymedia. Polymedia is our network. Go to polymedianetwork.com, and you can find some awesome shows, Point and Drink Adventure. You got Drunk Friend over there, obviously. A bunch of awesome shows, video games, movies, nostalgia. You're going to have a good time if you check out our network. So let's see. Who do I want to pick out today to close this out? Steve, why don't you send us out with some awesome parting words for the folks?
Everyone, I hope you have a fantastic day, night, afternoon, wherever you are. Get a tasty beverage, play some games. And I'm just going to remind you this one time with no context. When you're playing your game, double check that you're clicking the correct menu option. Otherwise, you're going to be upset. All right, take care. See ya.
Bye.